This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hi, everybody. Cheryl from Unleashed. And today I'm happy to have Michelle Fern on from Best Bets with Pets and Cattitude. And today we're going to talk everything about summer. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'm so happy to be here. So, Cheryl, I've done a lot of shows when we talk about summer because it's something that I'm so passionate about. I mean, I'm in a very hot place, but, there's heat conditions all over. And every year you hear some horrible story about people forgetting their pet. They left their pet in the car
They
or
just
something.
did it today.
And it's it's
100
crazy.
degrees. They went to the beach.
There's certain things you really need to be aware of for dogs and for cats, especially for cats, because cats don't pant like dogs do. But tell me about what happened to your friend.
No, I read today, my friend, we walk our dogs early. We don't do, of course, with Tilly, I do have to sometimes go out in the height. I teach her about, shade, in and out. But I'm out of the house by 7 to walk her. And after 7, it's much cooler. But
after 7 at night.
Yeah, definitely. And I do late also. And it's been hot. We're not going to the park. But you have to really be careful because the road puts out heat. And depending on what kind of dog you have, the weight, the coloring, you really have to be careful. And a dog could get heat stroke and it comes on them very quick, even after the fact. So you have to be very careful. And we'll get into that. And I have some very good information about that. And I'm interested, I no longer have cats, but you're right. They don't feel it the same way.
You mentioned a couple of good points as far as the road putting out heat. And most people know this. If not, they should know this. But if the asphalt or the ground is too hot for your feet, it's too hot for your dogs.
For your hand. You're going to put your hand on it. Tilly doesn't have a problem. We basically walk on the grass, but we have to get to the grass.
I read a stat that if it's 86 degrees, then asphalt is likely to be 135 degrees, and that is hot enough to cook an egg.
Now, 86 degrees, you do not walk your dog.
No.
84, 80, you don't walk your dog. And in some areas, 77 could be too much. But we'll get into that because you have to be very careful. Like when I used to take Tilly to the park, we're not now because it's so drastically, brutally hot out. She comes in, lays down on the porcelain. I take a cool cloth and I dab her head and her extremities to cool her off. But with this kind of weather, they can't exert themselves. No way.
No, they can't. And you mentioned a couple of good points, but flat nose or pugs that are pushed in or cats that have like more of a smushed in face. I think Scottish folds have faces like that. But cats and dogs that have a flatter face have a shorter respiratory, as far as.
And darker in color.
Right. But they have a short snout or a flatter face. There's issues with respiratory. So that's something that can affect them faster than a dog with a longer or a cat with a longer snout. Color, because dogs and cats can get sunburn.
I have lotion for Tilly. She has a pink nose. Part of her nose is pink. They sell
for
that
Tilly,
for
you
dogs.
have to, and they do have doggy sunscreen.
That's what I have.
And cats, cats have litter boxes, so you're not really walking. Some people walk their cats. You're not really walking cats as much. But one of the good things with cats is that they're inside. Generally, if you have a catio, hopefully it's in the shade and it's screened. Well, it must be screened in if it's a catio and you have a fan there. But there's certain times of days when my cats and it's screened in, there's a big fan above, but they don't want to be out. And that I'm fine with that because days that are very humid, if it's hot for you, it's hot for your pets.
Well, humidity is really the killer.
But also in very dry places, like in the deserts, Arizona, more desert part of LA, like Palm Springs, you can get heat stroke fast. It happens to us two-legged people. It could happen within maybe 20 minutes or so. But we know the symptoms and we could say, oh, I feel queasy. I feel this. It's time to go in. Your dog or cat is not going to know that.
No. And it could happen afterwards. I mean, they could start throwing up, they get dizzy, lethargic, and their temperature goes up. I'm really thinking of getting Tilly like baby booties for her feet.
That might be a good idea. I used to always walk Mr. Zeus on the grass very quickly, and I avoided the times of days when it was really hot. We'll get into other stuff, but another thing you should always do if you're traveling with your dog, sometimes you have to travel during the summer months, or you're going on a trip, you're taking your fur babe. Always make sure you have water. It's a good idea to have treats also, because if your dog or cat gets loose, you can lure them with the treats. Before we get into talking more about the heat, there's a great product from Maisie Days. It's a pup treat pouch. I showed it to you, Cheryl. It's very elegant. It's fun. There's storage for poop bags, for a bottle of water, not giant size, maybe 8 ounce. And it's another benefit. You could wear a crossbody or like a fanny pack, and then your hands are free. So you could hold leashes and hold the poop, so you don't have to worry about that.
I just want to say, whenever you take your pet out or away on a trip, whether it's in a car or anywhere, you should be prepared not only with some treats and definitely water, but really you should take their food with you. Only because it happened to a friend of mine. They went to go visit somebody that was a couple of hours away, and they ended up getting back late. And our pets, especially dogs, they like a routine. They don't really care if you're in traffic. They want to eat when they want to eat.
Exactly.
So if you have a little doggy bag, which who knew that when they came up with that expression that we really need these things, you really need to have everything your dog needs. And if you're going for a long distance, any time of year, you should also keep in mind any first aid that you think your pet might need.
That is touching on another subject that I wanted to talk to you about. You talked about temperatures for asphalt. A dog in a car, and we don't take cats on as many car rides because they are, most of our cats, especially in the US, are indoors. So you're not going to take your cat to the cat park. Maybe if you have a cat cafe, but usually they have their own cats. But anyhow, keep in mind that a dog can get heat stroke in a car in 5 minutes. Don't leave your dog in a parked car. Don't leave your dog in a parked car with shade, under the shade. It doesn't do much good. It's also illegal in a lot of states.
Yes. And not only dogs, if we're going to, and also children.
And cats. And children.
Because let's face it, there are idiots out there that think nothing of, no, truth. I mean,
I know.
Every day you can read the papers. Story. Today, somebody left their dog in the car, 100 degrees, while they were at the beach.
That is insane.
I think they should go to jail.
It's actually illegal. And I looked up the stats, and my stats are we're recording this in June 2024. So my stats were from 2023. So listeners, keep that in mind. But it's actually illegal to leave a domestic pet, a dog or a cat, in your car in 31 states. And 14 states, including Florida, have certain laws that will allow someone to rescue the pet.
Yeah, break the window.
There's rules, you have to call some states, you have to call 911 first, this and that. And then I'm going to tell you a true story. I was returning, this is several years ago, I was returning something to a mall, and I noticed there was a car next to me where I parked, and the windows were open a little teeny bit, and there was a little dog there, like a mini pincher or something, like a little small dog. And it was hot out. It's South Florida. It's generally hot all the time. We have cold fronts. We don't have winter. And this was a warm day, like always. And there was 2 other people came around, and I said, I planned to just run an errand quick in the store. I said, let me go in. I'm going to go in the mall, see if I see a security person, because, there's a lot of crazy people out there in the world. And if you go to break into someone's car.
Oh, I would have called the police.
Right. Call the police. I don't want anybody shoving who knows what in your face, So I went in. I didn't see a security guard. Time I got back, there's like 5 other people. There was a cop car around the mall. He came and he said, "What's going on?" And we said, "There's a dog inside there." He was looking for how to break into the car. The cop was. And at that time, a young person, nothing against young people, because older people could be idiots too, but this young person, the young male person, came running in and he said, I was just, what's going on? I was just there inside for 5 minutes. And I looked at him. I said, "No, you weren't." I said, "I've been here for 25 minutes and these other people have been around." And the cop says, "You want to tell me that again?" And I don't know if they fined him. I don't know if they arrested him.
Yeah, they should take the pet. I mean, finding somebody like that.
There's no 5 minutes. It doesn't go 5 minutes. And there's no reason to take your dog on car rides unless you're going to the vet or you're traveling with your dog. There's no reason to go run an errand or do anything with your dogs. If there's emergency situations, have a friend watch your pet for a little while if you have something that's emergency, or leave your pet at home. There's a lot of options out there.
They're safer at home.
But it's crazy. It's just crazy. So just for everyone listening, just be aware, because you can break into a car in some states, but there are certain laws ahead. You have to call 911 first. You might have certain ramifications.
But if that's the criteria for you,
thanks.
If calling the police and breaking the window, as opposed to your dog or your cat could be dead, or your kid, then don't get a dog, don't have kids, because that's not the criteria.
Right.
Criteria is your pet could die.
Well, I'm talking about people that see a pet in a car.
Oh, I would call the police.
So,
immediately.
Right, definitely the first thing, call 911, that's probably if to call 911, because 911 and he's going to die.
I think they break either one of the side windows or they go for the back window. I've seen them do it.
Cops have those little sticks that you could put inside for when you get locked out of your car. Well, car thieves have them too. So
right. Maybe there's a phone number for a car thief.
For a car thief?
Yeah, car thief. We need you to open up this car, get this poor little dog out.
I don't know if there's
Give us the dog, you could have the car. How about that?
Well,
I'm only kidding, of course.
Well, of course.
So we'll be right back. We're going to take a breather.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
We're back and we're talking about weather and how it affects our pets.
So let's talk a little more about cats. People don't always, they think because, an image of cats and it's warm and sunny and cats like heat. Yeah, they do. They like it a little warm. But cats get overheated just like dogs. Most of us, especially in the U.S., have indoor cats. So you should make sure the temps are not, if you're watching your AC, don't go higher than 80 degrees. So 78 to 80 is the warmest it should be if you have cats in your home. Also, keep in mind for cats, they don't pant like dogs where you know that, they're hot. So if your cat's panting, that's not a good sign. Also, if their tongue is dark red, or if their gums are
blue.
dark red,
or blue.
Or dark red or pale.
Yeah, dogs, their gums could be blue and red.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
But panting cat is a sign of a cat being overheated.
Right. Distress. And, cats do love the sunshine. I mean, if it was a sunny day, they always find the sunny spot. But the heat is no good for anybody.
Oh, one more thing before we go into this. Another thing to be aware of is during the summer, a lot of community cats like to hide out underneath cars.
And in the winter.
And in the winter, but in the
wheel
winter,
well.
they could hide up inside of cars to stay warm.
Right.
But in the summer, a lot of times they're under the cars.
Right.
So, because that's where there's shade, right? Under the car. And it gives them some protection. So make sure, and this is kitten season, April through October in most places in South Florida, pretty much all year long. But make sure there is not a cat under your car. Most of the time, the cat will, be gone by the time you shut your door, but not always. So take a look.
It's hot. And our summers are only going to get hotter. And I think this summer is going to be brutal because it's hot.
I've already seen it started early because it was already hot in May. I could gauge by my AC bill. It was like $50 higher than last year. And it was about 12 or 14
We didn't
degrees.
even have the raining season.
We didn't have my grass where the sprinklers don't hit looks like hay. We had a little bit of rain. And then in May, the average temperature was like 12 degrees warmer than last year. So it's crazy. And there's all kinds of, in the western part of the US this week, it's in the hundreds and it's crazy. It's so hot so fast. There's another thing I want to talk about that people think that this is okay. Don't leave your dog or cat in the car with the AC running, and don't leave kids in the car with the AC running unless they're older kids, like maybe 14 or 15, older, because especially some people will say, oh, I left the car running, but my pet's in there. A lot of cars, I mean, some are a little bit, you could put the parking brake on. They're not just going to start rolling. But I have seen more than once and heard about this more than once, a cat or dog jumping around and something gets jostled and the car just starts moving.
I mean, I could tell you honestly, one time coming back from the dog park with Tilly, I ran to get gas, which is 2 seconds in to give them the money, and then I start to pump. We're talking 2 seconds because I park right in the front. And when I opened up the door to put my bag back in, she jumped out. I grabbed her, but no. You have to be responsible. You can't put it on anybody else like you're going to entrust a 12-year-old not to play around. That's like somebody entrusting a 12-year-old. I locked the gun up, but they can find it.
It's also illegal to leave your dog in a running car with AC on. I mean, I know that in Florida, it's a $500 fine. So definitely something to keep in mind.
Right.
And if you are doing something to where you have to run in, run out, like you had to do with gas. I once had to travel during the summer months, and I was traveling with my dog across the country. When I ate, I did drive-throughs. I shared with her.
I did that when I came down to Florida with my cats. I had to eat at places where I could pull in and get it right out of the car. I could not go into a place.
No, you have to do drive-throughs or else forget it.
And side of the roads. But I want to just say before I forget, senior dogs and puppies are much more susceptible to heat than, say, a younger dog.
And kittens and older cats.
Right.
And that's a great point. It's just like people, infants and super seniors, they're more susceptible to heat as well.
Oh, we have to be aware. I mean, I wear hats, I wear sunglasses. You have to be aware now because the climate, I'm not looking to spout about climate change, but I see a change, and I've been living down here now 18 years. It's different. We didn't have our rainy season. It's hot out.
It's really hot.
Humid, too.
It's hot, it's humid, and you need to be responsible pet parents. And hopefully, if you guys are parents, you're responsible parents as well. So I want to finish off with talking about some tips. Make sure you have water with you on walks. Don't rely that there might be water, public water available in a dog park or something. That's not likely to happen. Make sure you have water. Avoid walking your dog during the hottest part of the day. Also, if you have to go to the vet, try to get an early appointment or a later appointment, because usually we know midday. I think it's between 2 and
And 4. No,
4.
2 and 6 really. Or really even earlier.
Well, the hottest is usually between 2 and 4. So avoid those times. Also, this is tick season. So check your dog for ticks, even if it's just a walk around the block, because it happens. They jump all over. So it definitely happens.
And they bring a lot of disease, not just to the dogs and
Yes,
cats.
for people
For
too.
people
It's
too.
horrible.
Terrible.
I would say limit your car rides for your fur babes to vet only visits. If you have to go to the groomer, but there's a lot of mobile groomers these days. And, just a side note, when I lived in Los Angeles, there was certain times of the year I would take my dog just for car rides because she loved it. But when it was cooler, of course. In Florida, never did that with Mr. Zeus. Never.
Now,
Because
my
it's
ride
just
to the
too
dog
hot.
park. My ride to the dog park is 1.5 miles. And then the air conditioner is on.
Right,
and I go early.
But you go early or
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
if you go during the summer, or do you just cut out the summer?
She needs her exercise. She's a young dog. Now, every day, twice a day, she meets her best friend, Molly, and they roughhouse. And that gives her a little exercise. And then she's good. I walk late at night and early in the morning. And if I can, in the shade, midday, in and out, just, that's it. I'm very aware of it. If I could put a hat on her, I would.
Some people do that. I just want people to be aware. Be aware that the heat is no joke.
No, the heat
It's-
is a killer.
It's a killer. Just be aware.
People in the desert die because they don't bring enough water and they thought that their little hike is going to be, X amount of time and it took longer. Heat is a killer.
Yes.
And it's not a pleasant way to go.
No, I wouldn't want to go that way. That's for sure. The whole point of this show, so for everyone listening, is that between Cheryl and I is to just bring awareness, that fact that it's summer, it's hot. And even if you're in one of the cooler states, Maine or Vermont or, Washington State.
Well, what about people who have a house and they just let their dog out? That too.
Well, that's not good. I'm not a fan of that. But as far as the weather goes, even if you live in a place that's not as hot, just be aware of the temps, because you can have a day. Some places I've seen temps go from 90 to 50 and then back to 90 again.
Right.
Just be aware when it's too hot for you, it's too hot for your fur babe. Because I don't think anybody wants to do something like kill their fur babe by leaving him in the car or her in the car. So just be aware of it. I think the biggest thing that people make a mistake of is walking their dog on asphalt or on concrete. It's
Right.
just too hot.
Right.
And that people unknowingly do. They just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Try going barefoot.
Right.
I know you said the hand test, but most people are just going to take their shoe off and touch it. And you can sometimes you could feel the heat from your shoe.
Right.
So if that's a great test, too hot for you, too hot for your dog, take your dog just on the grass, come back inside.
But
You're done.
But I just want to tell people, because the symptoms of heat stroke in an animal could come on them either right away, a little while later, and it's quick, because they feel the heat different than we do. So they pant, they drool, they could throw up, and they could be disoriented. And the best thing to do is, like I said, when I bring Tilly in from outside or from the park, I have a cool washcloth. I just pat her down with it. Some people soak a towel in cold water. You should only do that if you are going to continue to do that, because you have to get them to regulate their own body.
Well, if your dog shows symptoms of heat stroke, get your dog to the vet or emergency hospital. That's one. The other thing is people don't realize is even leaving their dog in a hot car or cat in a hot car for just a few minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, can cause, if it's not full on heat stroke, it can cause, and I've read this, so I'm not a vet, I've read this, but it can cause potential brain damage.
That's something to think about.
Other symptoms that are not quite heat stroke, but have significant damage to your fur babe. So keep your fur babes home during summer. If you take them someplace, make sure
The car is on and the air conditioner is
Yeah.
on. I do that.
make sure it's nice and cool for them.
Yeah.
And you.
Yes. And for us too. So
Do you have anything else that you wanted to mention?
No. I'm thinking of really getting little booties.
Cheryl, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on Best Bets for Pets. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this show. I know we talked a little bit about dogs, but, we talked about cats too. And a lot of people have both. Be aware of the symptoms for your cats during these warm summer months.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on my show, Michelle Fern, Cattitude. I want to thank my listeners. I want to thank my producer, Mark. I want to thank Tilly McGee for making me a dog owner again and taking me on adventures. We'll see you next time. Remember, live life unleashed.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.